as far as I know,
Yeah.
as far as I know, but sometimes he's an old guy, sometimes he sleeps in.
Yeah. Well, if those adult diapers are leaking, then I'm sure he's, needing some help.
Well, yeah, he's running up, he's on a tight budget, and you run up quite a bill on those if those Huggies aren't hugging properly. You got a cleaning bill on the carpet,
Oh God, it's
and you
nasty.
go through quite a few, so
Yeah. So what's been going on? Y'all took a break from doing the show for a while, or
yeah, it's just like 4 years steady is just
yeah,
yeah, it's kind of, like
a grind
yeah,
at some point?
yeah, but I still got stuff going on all the time. It's just like in staying
Yeah.
around here, I can't take a break from that. They don't
Yeah.
allow that,
Well,
but
speaking of,
anyway, yeah.
sometimes the things you love do become a grind, and that's just the way it is. But
Yeah. It's just like, finding guests or whatever. Sometimes it's just I just didn't feel like looking for them after a while. But we'll get back into it again. But yeah, I may just do a show when a show's called for instead of doing one every week. I might only do once a month. I might do two a week. I don't know, whatever.
yeah, I can't. Everybody says you ought to do a podcast. You ought to do a podcast. Well, I don't. I can't be tied to every Wednesday at 3 o'clock or whatever. I mean, I've never lived my life like that. So predictable
Yeah.
and routine.
Or you could do it like we do. Just whenever the hell the guest wants to do it.
Yeah, well, you can tape a bunch of shows whenever you just play one once a week, and it'll look like you do one once a week, but you
You
really
could do
haven't.
that too. Yeah, you could do that too, pre-record.
Yeah. I don't think I have enough to talk about, so I let those that have more knowledge and things to talk about to.
So here's a question I've always wanted to ask a semi-professional comedian, or maybe you're a professional. I don't know.
I made a living at it for about 4 or 5 years, somewhere in there.
Oh, okay. Well, then I guess you were a professional. But no, can you actually do stand-up sitting down?
Yes, I'm doing it right now.
Well, I mean, I've never seen you stand up. Maybe you're just short, maybe you're just like 3.5 feet tall.
Well, I am just 3.5 feet tall, but that's on a vertical, not the horizontal. If it was horizontal, I'd be doing different kind of movies. Or is it if it was horizontal, I'd be doing different kinds of things.
Yeah.
There's that old guy. So yeah, it was weird.
And when it gets wrinkly, though, I mean, it's not the size and the girth so much. It's not appealing to a camera. It's not making love to the camera, like people
Yeah.
don't.
Well, the camera is not the one I'm trying to please. So
I wonder what's happening with Mr. Beans here.
I don't know.
He's done this before, where he just suddenly wakes up and then he decides, oh yeah, we got a show or
Oh
something.
yeah, I got a
Let me,
show.
let me just go and see if he's even
Sure.
seen what's going on here. I mean, we can do it without him. Probably be better off without him anyway.
It's up to you.
I'm just joking, of course, but
I know. I know.
uh, has he seen it? Just message him.
I am envious of your hair, though. That's it'd be nice to
Yeah,
have something to push out of my eyes once again.
yeah, the old rock and roll, just like
Oh,
like
yeah, it was down to my waist almost for a long time.
yeah. No, I've seen pictures of you. You
Yeah,
look
I cut
like
it all off and it grew back. Just
you look like kind of a Bonzo type.
for a minute I did. Yeah. Wish I was as good as he was. I wouldn't be sitting here probably. I'd be counting my money.
Well, Well, he's counting the daisies that he's pushing up.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, that's the price of rock and roll, my friend, you
Yeah.
know.
I can't remember. Is he one of the 27 Club members?
Oh yeah. I'm gonna look that up, or can you look it up while I panic and wonder what's going on with Beans? I think he might be.
Yeah, I'll look it up.
I bet you thought you were gonna make that club at one point.
Uh, I should have been. There's a lot of things I did that I shouldn't be still be here, but oh well.
Well,
Uh,
there's a reason for this, as we all know.
John Bonham.
By the way, I got your message. I got that other picture up, so we can discuss your new up and coming as well.
If you want, I mean,
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Want to hear your stuff? Want to, your new stuff?
let's see. Bonham and Keith Moon both died at 32.
No.
Yeah.
Well, is there a 32 club? I guess they're in it.
Well, that's the only I Googled the 27 Club and John Bonham and Keith Moon didn't make that club, but how about the 32 Club?
They did. Well, they got an
Yeah.
extra 5 years. They got a 5 year reprieve.
Yeah, he died in 1980. Yeah, see, I half the guys I played with are gone.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really, I'm reminded of my bands and records we've made and all that. And people are always, sharing memories back now. You just go, oh God, I'd like to be back there knowing what I know now. You know,
Yeah.
I would have done a few things differently, like, fewer uh, mind altering substances, because that's what I think, did us in, because, we were going to go out on the road with
Yeah. Well,
Taj Mahal.
that was a
And
lifestyle. Taj
yeah,
Mahal, yeah.
and my singer passed out standing up right in the middle of a song. And the producers and promoters were standing in the wings watching us, taking notes. And we'd already opened one show for him, and we did another. It was two shows in Dallas way back. And we were not invited after that. My guitar player had to come up behind him and bang him on the head with his guitar. He woke up. He fell asleep with his arm over the microphone. He was just like passed out standing up.
And
What?
Taj Mahal too. No,
Huh?
just I thought you said Taj Mahal as well. That would have made it weirder.
Yeah. Pills, but it was, I could always stop whatever I was doing because I took care of all the business and all my bands. So I had to have my shit together. So I
Yeah.
could, I and I was fine with it. I didn't care. I could take it or leave it. But when I got into it, I was into it. But but the other guys could never stop drinking or drugging. They just couldn't stop.
Yeah.
And it was like a party that never ended. And I wanted this to be my retirement. I wanted to fund my retirement with, but it just wasn't meant to be.
Oh well. I mean,
But it's real sad because I missed the guys. I mean, it just we came up in the same time and era, and with our buddy Stevie and Jimmy Vaughn, the Vaughn brothers, we came up with them,
absolutely.
and we were like the next big thing, and then we weren't. It was just like, boy, when you crash, man. But
Yeah. I think we're going live.
all right.
Hey, we are. Hey, everybody. My name is Port Cunningham, and I'm here with the world's baldest man. Well, I don't have the handsomest man anymore, right?
No, he's apparently sleeping.
I mean, really though, literally, that's a true comment because if you're bald, you're tied for the bald, for being the baldest man with everybody else who's bald, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right?
My hair only grows on the sides and in the back. I've often talked to my wife and said, maybe I should let my hair grow out. but I don't want to see you with a man bun. I said, well, I wasn't going to do a man bun. I was going to be, long on the sides, bald on the top.
Well, if the people want some extra coverage, they can check out my channel, Sasquatch BC, The True Story, and we can talk about how you were enthralled with the memories of your golden locks,
Yeah.
brushing the hair out of your eyes like I do every day.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, you know, but the grandmother hair, the gene pool nominated me to be go bald early. So I don't miss it because I
Yeah.
don't miss the care.
Yeah. Well, those guys who have like, the big bald spot in the middle or whatever, and just like, like Larry from the Three Stooges kind of stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
at that point, you just gotta let it all go, don't you?
Yeah, yeah. No, yeah, my I didn't I once I cut it off, it was like a relief, you know. And I cut my hair down to like an inch long all over. When the 70s came and everybody was cutting the hair real short, so I did that, and then it grew back, and then I cut it short again. I ended up, keeping it short for a long time. Now, genetics keeps it short. I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. Well, I did shave my head on purpose one time, and you remember that show Night Court?
Yeah,
I looked like
Richard
that.
Mall.
I
Richard
looked like
Mall.
Bull. Yeah, I looked like Bull on Night Court, and it
Yeah.
just wasn't. It's just not a look I wanted.
Yeah, I don't think it's a look he would have wanted for you either, because,
He wouldn't want He didn't like it either. Yeah, he was going to sue me for looking like him on in a lineup, for a
Yeah,
police lineup or
yeah.
something. But how did you know it was Richard Mall? You just knew. I mean, it must be the telepathic connection between us. See, it's working.
Well, they just rebooted that show, didn't they? They have a new night court now. It's out. We don't watch network TV hardly ever.
I don't know.
Yeah, they have one. Well, you don't either, apparently,
Yeah,
but
but you
we
said
don't watch
Richard
that stuff.
Mall, the original
Huh?
guy. You
Yeah, he was the
you
original guy. You
but you
know.
knew that you knew that I looked like Richard Mall before I mentioned Richard Mall.
Yeah, yeah, I can see it. I can see the resemblance. You know, it's scary. No, but I haven't
Anyway,
seen the show. Looks like it's not. You can't recreate that kind of magic when you do these tribute shows or tribute. We'll bring it back for a year, see what happens. Well, it's just not the same. They're telling some of the same old jokes, and they
no,
got a different judge, and everybody's different, so it's not the same.
no, never is. Never
Yeah,
is. So, what is happening with you these days? You got a new, yeah, I've got that. Actually, I've got the pictures. I'll bring the picture up and show everybody.
yeah.
Is that what you wanted to get into right away? Talk about that book
Oh,
right
we can
away?
talk about whatever. That's my one I released in October of last year, and
Okay,
the
hang on a second. That's the back. And let me get rid of Mr. Beans has not seen that yet. I guess he's snoozing. Okay, baptized by abduction. One man's accidental discovery of a series of alien abductions beginning when he was 8 years old. He discovered these events at the age of 53 during a small gathering of a group of friends for past life regressions. A true story by Carter Buschardt, and it's about you, isn't it?
That's all me. It's
All you all the time.
all me all the time. Me, me, me. Well, it
So
was
let's
just
go.
it was. Oh, look at a cute little fellow I was there.
Yeah.
Look how I morphed
Oh,
into the old fart.
I like your backdrop. Where's that?
I've got photo screens here. I got a bunch of screens, like
Oh,
big
that's cool.
cloth,
I like that.
backdrops and stuff. I
I
kind of
like
like that.
that. Yeah, I like that vehicle too.
Yeah, that was the first car my wife and I bought together to restore, and the reason unbeknownst to me, was the car that I thought was a car that raced in front of me and my friend. I'll get into the story. It
Yeah.
was a 51 Buick. And uh, my grandparents had a 51 Buick, a blue Buick. And that's what I remember when I saw it.
Hmm.
And then when I went into these regressions, it became clear that that was, a screen memory. You know what screen memories are,
Yeah.
where they give you, they implant a memory that will kick in when you start to remember something they don't want you to remember. So, and that's the car. And 2, 3 weeks, a month or two, I'm trying to remember before I found out what really happened. We bought this car, had it shipped in from Chicago,
Yeah.
and the rest is history. You want me to tell you how this all started?
Absolutely. Yeah. I guess we can get out of this now, eh? I'll just go back to your book again, your cover quickly. So
Yeah.
this is your new book, and this is available now, right?
Yeah, I'm self-published, so I do them all. I sell them all here out of the house. I write them, get them printed, and all that. So Amazon's way too expensive. They make your books way too expensive, even though this one's all black and white. But
Yeah. And not only that, with my book, I went through about five different upgrades before I finally got it right. And I went back to something that was close to the original one I had with just a few little errors in it. I was
yep.
getting copies back from them that had like one line on a page and stuff. And it was just like, man, it would,
Yeah, I just they've got my Kindle books, but that's all I'll give them. I just can't I can't deal with them anymore. And they charge, my books are all color, and they would probably be 40 or $50 versus what I sell them for. So people can't afford that. It's just it's just, I just do it myself and keep the money in my pocket and charge people less for what they'd be paying on Amazon.
yeah.
So
I know.
I print 100 at a time.
I know when I had my book out, or well, not when I did, what I do, the prices I look at that they're charging on Amazon are embarrassing. Like, you know,
Hmm.
I don't want to, but we have no control over that. But anyway, so let's tell us about how this book came about. And this is the story of your life and some things you
Yeah,
found out from past life regressions, obviously, right?
yeah, accidentally. I mean, it was just bizarre.
Let's run
So
through it all.
yeah, I had this story I've told all my life up until I found this out. Then I I don't tell this story anymore because it's not it's different. But uh, my friend and I, back in Dallas, Texas, we were racing our bikes. We got new bikes. It was summertime, hot, nobody home. We were just racing our bikes in the neighborhood, and we ran a stop sign in this car. We were just being dummies. I mean, we ran a stop sign. We're just, trying to beat each other and all that. And so we ran a stop sign, and this car just goes by, and we could feel the wind. It just barely missed us. I mean, it was like, oh my God. It was right in front of my house. We were dead certain my mom was going to see us and come out and rip our butts, but she didn't see it. Well, women in the late 50s, they weren't working. They stayed home. She
Yeah,
was the June Cleaver. Nice dress, pearl necklace, the real pearls, not, anyway. So
yeah,
I thought she was going to see us and come out and just kill me, but she didn't see it. And so we were just going, oh my God, what happened? I can't believe we almost got killed. So whenever you're like meeting new people or friends or just trying to break ice at a party, you start telling stories about, just any story. So, well, a lot of times you end up talking about stupid stuff you did as a kid that should have got you killed but didn't. So that's what this story was, and I probably told it literally hundreds and hundreds of times, because I was in sales, and so you break the ice. Well, here's one for you. So anyway, uh, fast forward to 2004. Now, I quit playing. I started my real estate career. I quit playing drums. I done with my comedy career and all that kind of stuff. And so, me and my wife and another friend and her husband. Now, the girl Nancy, she was a real good friend of mine. Her husband was part of my comedy trio, and he passed away. So she had remarried and met this guy, and we got along with him. So we hung out, and so we were just sitting around one night. We said, "Hey, you know what would be cool is to," because I always thought I had a past life, and others did too. So we said, "Well, why don't we just go do some regression and see if we can find a hypnotist that'll regress us and see if we had a past life." It was just one of those sitting around having a couple of cocktails and let's see what we can do. So sure enough, I looked in the phone book, found a several hypnotists in my area, which is Liberty, Kansas City, Missouri. So we found one, we booked it, we went out there, and all four of us. And so this was June, July of 2004. So she had a big studio, and so we all went in. We were all together. We all watched each other get regressed. Now, my wife went under first, and she could not go under because she has control issues. A lot of people can't go under because they have control issues. They don't like to be out of control with somebody's messing with their mind. So she couldn't go under. Then Steve went under, and we got one life out of him. He was a member of the ruling class in Atlantis. He was wearing all these opulent robes, and he remembered kind of going around just being a king or whatever he was. And but it started. He started exhibiting powers that he himself, the real Steve, was not comfortable with. It was metaphysical, paranormal, quantum type things like, waving your arm and, creating energy and all this kind of stuff. He was not comfortable with that. So he woke himself up and he got out. And so then his wife goes under, Nancy, and she had two past lives that she found. One was a fisherman in the 20s in the North Atlantic out of, the violent uh, seas up there. They're really, really treacherous and dangerous. And then the other one was a medicine man, and her tribe, her she was a Native American Indian, and her tribe was dying, and she was just helping them die and be comfortable because they had no medicine. And she actually in real life was a healer, a Reiki teacher, and so
Hmm.
that was kind of congruent with what she was doing. So anyway, so she gets out, and so and we're all watching each other, and we're all recording all these sessions. And so I go under, and it takes a while. I'm listening to the tapes, and it's just going on and on. I'm just not getting there. Finally, I get under, and I start bawling like a 10-year-old kid. I was just crying. Literally, I was crying. I was sobbing. Tears were running down my face, and I was choking and I could barely talk. And she calms me down a little bit, and I go immediately because she says, "Well, get up on a cloud. We're gonna find your peace animal and your safe animal, and we're gonna go up in the clouds. And we're gonna look down on the world and the earth, and we're gonna see where you were and who you were, and do all this." That's how she did everybody. And so I started reliving the story I just told you about almost getting run over by that car. Then me and my friend Craig, and well, it wasn't a car, it was a craft. And we found ourselves inside this car craft. And
Yeah.
and it was we were inside this spacecraft on our bikes, and we're just looking around, and and I'm still freaking out. My hypnotized self was still just bawling and crying, and she's trying to get me to calm down. And then I see them doing something to him surgically behind the screen, but it's kind of clear. I can see right. It's kind of looking through a cheesecloth. And so I'm watching him do these things, them do these things to him. He's screaming bloody murder. He's just screaming, you know. And that's all I remember at that very junction. And so she wakes me up and everybody is staring at me. And I'm going, what's going on here? Why am I crying? What's the deal? You know, and they're all just, they're staring at me, including the hypnotist. She had just gotten her therapist license. We were probably the what in the first 5 or 10 customers she ever had. What did she get? An alien abduction. You know, it's funny now, and we're friends now. She ended up doing a conference I was at, and she was putting a booth right next to me. But anyway, so I get I they wake me up and I'm sitting there and they're all just like, what happened? What do you, yeah, I'm going, no, what happened? You tell me what happened. How come I'm sitting here crying? And so they tell me. And so I've got this on tape. And so that was 2004. It's 2024 now. I went under with, you know who Dolores Cannon is?
Yeah.
Yeah. I went under with her twice.
Oh, wow. With actual Dolores Cannon.
Yeah, no, but when she was still alive. And
Wow.
so
What was
here's
that?
the
That
deal.
must have been something.
Oh, it was awesome. So anyhow, this hypnotist was a student of Dolores. So after a week or two, I went back the next day, just my wife and I, and she took me back under. Same stuff. I went through much more detail. And, I was taken to Machu Picchu. I was taken to Saturn. I was abducted out of my bedroom at home when I was, 8, 9, 10, all up the food chain. But anyway, so I went in with the second hypnotist just to make sure, because I had no idea. I don't. I remember nothing of any. I had no idea. But that's because all the screen memories. So I went under with another regressionist who was also a student of Dolores Cannon, and then I went under with another one, and she was a student of Dolores, and they got good results. Well, I said, well, screw this. I'm going to go to the Queen because why am I messing with the servants here? Because I'm going to go to her because she was in Arkansas, so I'm in Missouri. It was just a 3 4 hour drive to go get to her. Now back in 2004, uh, she was charging good money. I mean, it was expensive, and that's why a lot of people didn't do it. But I was doing okay, so I went under with her twice in 2005 and 2010, and she pulled some crap out that was like pulling teeth, because of all the screen memories that they have given me. Plus, I had trauma from my childhood with my father. He was a mean, nasty, hateful man. He was very, very cruel to me and uh, made my life a living hell. So that created mental blocks because I was insecure. And you jump every time somebody looks at you because that's all he was. A lot of yelling and screaming and just making fun of me and just
Yeah.
horrible, horrible stuff. Not physical, but all mental. And so I had that going against me, and I had the screen memories. So I had these two blocks. But when I'm with Dolores, she's pulling stuff out of me and just says, and I keep saying during the session, am I really saying this? Is this really happening? She's like, shut up, just keep talking. Just keep talking because we're gone. I guess that's typical to ask if you're under and you don't know you're under. Did I just say that? Did I really? It was just very bizarre. And then the second time I went back, she pulled some more stuff out of me. That was 2010. And then she died in 2014. So I took all of those tapes. I had 7 tapes, cassette tapes from all my sessions, and I put them in a box in my closet and stuck them on a shelf. I didn't do anything with them for 20 years. I, I guess I was afraid of finding out what really happened. I don't know because they're in here with all my Sasquatch gear. I got my Sasquatch DNA kits and my microscopes and all that stuff up on the top shelf of my closet. And it's up there right with that. And I sit here at my desk and go, well, there they are. Well, I'll get to them next week, next month, next year, next year. I never did. And each one of those researchers told me to the hypnotist, they told me, you got to listen to these over and over. You'll find something new every time you listen to them. You'll find something. You will. I just put them in the. I don't know if I was. I don't know if I was afraid. Although I listened to them once, I knew what was on them. It was like, well, I was just starting my real estate career. I was just starting my Sasquatch research, and I'll get to it. I'll get to it. For the life of me, I have no rational explanation. But then I did a show last year with Travis Walton,
Hmm.
and he was right next to me in a booth. And he and I got to talking while it was slow. He's going, why are you sitting on that stuff? You got to tell the world. These people are going, people are going crazy. This is happening to people all over the world. And I said, well, yeah, I know, but I just haven't done anything with it. You need to get off your butt and do something, And it's the same thing I tell people about Sasquatch. I'm writing all my books on Sasquatch. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on the world doesn't know anything about.
Right.
And I'm trying to write these books not to make money because I don't make, if I break even, I'm happy. But to get the word out, to get more people to come out and tell their stories so that, people understand these Sasquatch are real and they are really, they have the skill sets. They can do these things. They can see and say and do what they want whenever they want. And nobody knows it. And because nobody wants to talk because they get ridiculed. And so he was telling me the same thing I was telling everybody else, and I wasn't taking my own freaking advice, you know. So that was in August of last year, maybe July. And so I went to another Dolores Cannon student here in Kansas City, and she's the third tier hypnotist. She's like way up there. She would be very close to where Dolores was. Third tier, you've done pretty much everything.
Hmm.
And so she was right here in Kansas City, and she pulled some stuff out, and it was all the same. I was going, well, what am I waiting for? What am I got to do something with it. So I had all these cassette tapes, state of the art back, 20 years ago, state of the
Right.
art. But I had no way to transcribe them. So I bought a little machine that it plays it and transcribes it into digital form. And then I put them in thumb drives. And so I had them in a modern technology that I could use. I could just plug a thumb drive into the computer and boom, there they are. I can play them all night, instead of cassettes. So when I did that, it came out in the hypnosis that they're aware of my Sasquatch research. The aliens, the ETs. I mean, and they said one of the things they kept telling me was, you weren't supposed to remember that. How do you know that? You weren't supposed to remember that. So their screen memory that they gave
Yeah.
me, it started falling apart. And I was
Yeah.
remembering things that I wasn't supposed to remember.
Now let me ask you one thing.
Yep.
Who were they?
The aliens,
Okay.
the
And
ETs.
and do they give us the screen memory so that, so that we can live, so we can live our life and our soul journeys, whatever, without the I mean, because we have to kind
Yeah.
of.
Yeah. Well, they don't want you to remember and know things. So, like, for instance, the grays with the big eyes. Well, they will give you, and they gave me a screen memory of an owl or a deer, another known animal or creature with big eyes. So whenever your mind starts to, oh, I think that reminds me, you said, no, no, I don't know what that is. You are programmed to see an owl or a deer, for instance, when you're actually looking at a gray. And I saw the short grays, which are the drones, and I saw the tall gray. Now, the tall gray, they gave me another screen memory, and this is going to sound funny, of Aunt Jemima. It was the weirdest thing. But They gave me all these memories, and I kept, whenever they would take me under, I go, what? I, I just couldn't fathom what I was saying. I mean, I kept, they had taken my friend Craig. Apparently, he'd been taken numerous times before. I was just happened to be with him this day that they were going to go get him. But they took me and they ended up taking me multiple times. And maybe they tried as recently as 2021 or 22 here at the house. But Craig had been taken regularly. And so they were grooming him for hybridization, meshing or melding, as they called it, where they were cloning using their DNA and our DNA to make a hybrid.
And
And they had me in a cocoon or this kind of embryo thing where I was standing up and I was wrapped in this sheet or plastic or the screen, whatever it was. I was wrapped in something. I couldn't move. I was kind of restricted. My nose was touching this, and I could see through it. But I couldn't really see what was going on. But I knew I was there, and I started panicking and freaking out, and so I started trying to claw my way out of this thing. And so one of the ETs, I remember he grabs a laser and just slices it down the middle, and I'm out. You know, and so and all this time I'm freaking, because I'm a 10-year-old kid, I know
yeah.
nothing. I mean, but they took us from my house. They took us from uh, out in my neighborhood. They took us at a pond and creek where we used to fish and hunt. Uh, they they were grooming me. And so they were isolating. And the term they used was we wanted to make sure that our biologies will mesh or meld together. We don't want there to be any problems. So we're going to, isolate you guys and keep you away from our germs until we know we're compatible. Then if you're compatible, we will probably do hybridization. I'm getting told all this. So the ETs, they're either talking through Dolores or through the other regressionist, or they're talking right to me through them. Where she's telling me, and her voice changes. My voice changed a few times, where the ETs were in me and they were speaking through me. And my voice on one of these tapes, you can hear my voice goes from what I am right now to why do I really like this? It was bizarre, but they could do all that. And so I was, I was a woman in a past life. They found that one of the woman, the second regressionist that I went to after the first one, she got really into my past life because it kept popping up, and I was alive during Jack the Ripper. I watched him kill a woman, or I walked up on it as just as it had been done. I was
Ooh.
a woman. I was wearing a dress. I was in old London, cobblestone streets, the black gas lanterns with the flames and stuff. And I saw this woman
So,
laying on the floor or on the cobblestones. Blood was pouring out of her, and there's intestines everywhere. She was completely disemboweled. And so the original thing to go find out if it had a past life that actually snuck through all this other stuff. But they had taken me all these places. I had requested, and they took me to the rings of Saturn.
hang on a second. Now you got me so fascinated now with because Jack the Ripper is something that I've always been intrigued with, like all these enduring mysteries. So, how did you know you walked? Did you do any research that fit what you saw that matched up to Jack the Ripper, or how did you know it was Jack the Ripper? And tell us more. Do you have a
Well,
suspect? Do you have a
I the regressionists that got into all that really half of our regression of 2 hours was half of it was this Jack the Ripper thing kept keep coming
Yeah,
up.
I really want to hear all the details. I mean, because
Yeah.
it's
Well, she
fascinating.
asked me, she said, "Well, were you there or were you Jack the Ripper?" I said,
Uh-oh.
I don't think I was Jack the Ripper. I think I would know that. I mean, I would be, if you got this much out of me about being a woman, and I was wearing a nice long fitting kind of a white
Yeah.
dress of some type in the 1800s or whatever that was. And I said, no, I feel like I was there and I had guilt because I didn't stop it from happening or I didn't render her aid after it happened when I saw her. So I was talking like I was a bystander and an observer, not Jack the Ripper.
So you saw it happen.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, what did he look like? How did it go down?
I just saw, a guy in a black jacket. I don't know what, tails. He had tails. His coat had tails on it. Like two tails coming out, like they'll
Yeah,
kind
yeah, yeah. Top
of,
hat?
yeah. No top hat, but he had the tails on his coat,
I know,
and
yeah.
I was walking toward this lantern, and I heard screaming and scuffling. I turned around, couldn't see whatever it was. I turned back around, and there this woman was already disemboweled and cut open right in front of me. And I was just going, I was screaming, okay, can somebody help me? Blah blah blah. Yeah, I was just, I was freaking out. But all I remember was getting blood on my hands and seeing her organs, her intestines laying on the cobblestone street, and there's blood in the little cracks between the cobblestones, the little Humpty rocks. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
it was
yeah.
like very real. And it was a tangible thing. I was there looking at it, feeling it, touching it, and but she kept asking me, "Do you think you were Jack the Ripper?" I said, "No, I don't think I was."
But you did tell your wife that there is a chance that you may be Jack the Ripper, I hope.
Yeah, she
You
sleeps
know,
with a big knife under her pillow now. So,
yeah. I
but
mean,
so, but anyway,
transparency, right? But
yeah,
anyway, so did you get a, I mean, I got to go off on this for a little bit because I'm intrigued. Did you get an idea of, uh, I guess caste is an Indian word was he a society man? Was he dressed
I thought he
like,
looked pretty good. He was dressed like he'd been to a formal something. I mean, we all, back in the 50s and 60s, a lot of us, men and women still wore suits or slacks and a shirt and a tie because there was still that formality until we got into the 70s and 80s. But he looked like he had been somewhere or was somebody, because it was really nice looking long sleeve jacket with the coattails, you know.
hmm,
I don't remember the shirt, but he looked like a classy guy,
society
Glasses.
man or
I
something?
remember glasses. But that's all I remember because I really just saw him from the back and the side when he looked like that, and I wasn't looking at that because I was looking at the woman that he just disemboweled.
Did you see him take off?
No, because I was busy looking at her.
Oh, wow.
I heard him, but next time I looked around, he was gone. But I was just looking at this woman, and I was feeling so bad that I didn't help after she'd been murdered or stabbed, or I didn't stop it. And that which, if I'm thinking that, then I may have been there before it happened and could have stopped it. I don't know how I could have, because how do you know that's going to happen? But it was one of
But
those.
this was actually a memory of you actually being there. This was a past life regression
Yeah,
memory.
yeah.
That's pretty intense, yeah.
And that's what we went to do in the first place. But a past life. Well, I guess if you want to consider going back to, I'm a 53-year-old man. I'm going to go back to being 9 or 10. I guess that's a past life.
Yeah.
I'm thinking more a couple hundred years, or even further back than that for past life,
Yeah.
but
Have you heard of Mary Rodwell?
uh-uh.
She's an Australian lady. She's kind of very much into UFOs, abductions, and I kind of introduced her to the connection between Sasquatch and all this kind of phenomenon that's going on, and she
Yeah.
does past life regression. She's actually really well known. She was
Yeah.
I think she was what was that Doctor Institute, Dr. Casey, or not Dr. Edgar Casey,
Mac,
but Dr.
John Mack, the Harvard.
some some institute that Beans was associated with for at one point. Anyway, she's really really well known. She did a past life regression on me, and I'm just wondering because she told me that I was Sasquatch at least three times in past lives. And, I remember walking through that and experiencing that. Did you have anything like that go on? Because,
No, no,
many of the people that are contacted by them, uh, seems like we do have some kind of connection with them from past lives or something. I'm just
yeah,
interested. So there was none of that going on with you?
no. They were aware of the last regressionist. They were speaking of me, and they were aware of my research.
Okay.
They were telling me the Sasquatch people were aware of my research.
Oh, well, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, you know,
But they were telling you that, and that's not something that they would be necessarily, privy to, right? Like,
yeah, or know or even care about. But I think
exactly.
there probably is a connection somehow. The more I look into this, and the more I talk to some of my folks, especially with the new book, there's bits and pieces that don't make sense unless you plug it into that, you know,
Yeah.
UFO ET type thing. And
Yeah.
can't say no to it, but I have no definitive,
Well,
other than my witnesses, my habituation folks. They've got all kinds of stories about
well,
Sasquatch and orbs and you know, spacecraft
yeah.
on
Well, I
the
mean,
property.
I feel personally that I know they guided me to write my book and they guide me to do my videos and to put on this show and whatever. So I think that they guide people like you and I and others that we've talked to and we know all the time, and they're obviously, evidently, more than obviously aware of it, because
Yeah,
I mean, for me, for instance, they check in with me just about every show, virtually every show, energetically at some point with some kind of nudge. So, that they're monitoring what we're doing,
yeah,
and we're doing good work for them, I think. So,
yeah. Well, I when I had my connection with the Klan in Illinois, that was 2019, 2020, when they made me aware that they were aware of me. And that's when, uh, while I was up there in Illinois leading an expedition uh, and leaving uh, those rocks that are on that log in the second book,
yeah,
they left that there for me to find. And it coincided with a number of people in the expedition, including
absolutely, yeah,
myself. It was what it was. It was nothing else other than that.
of
At
course,
that
yeah,
exact time that was probably being left, which was in the wee hours of the morning of the next day, is when I found it. My wife was experiencing a blue orb that flew into our bedroom here in Kansas City, flew around the room a couple of times, went into the bathroom and disappeared. She physically saw it, and she also saw the reflection in the dresser mirror. So she not only saw it in physical, real terms, but she also saw the reflection. So it was not a car because cars, the way our house sits, it's not a car light. There's nothing. So when I called her to tell her what I had found, she goes, "Well, what time did that happen?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. It had to happen probably after 8 or 9 o'clock because it was COVID and October and it was dark by 5:30 or 6 and nobody's out in this spot, which nobody in this town would go near at night. That's a whole nother story. But uh, so about the same time that they were putting these rocks out for me to find the next morning, she was getting an orb. So they knew where I lived.
oh, of course,
You know what I mean? I mean, it was 325 miles away, and they're in there running around, like, hello. Of course, she had
yeah.
no idea. but she's been privy to a lot of weirdness, and now she's on
She's
board with
almost as weird as you now.
almost. Well, she's a sensitive, she has been sensitive to paranormal things, more in the ghosts and past lives of others and stuff like that. She's always been
Yeah.
sensitive to that kind of stuff. So she's not like oblivious to it and oh, that's a bunch of crap. That can't happen. She saw that. She's experienced me getting mind jacked with my mind by the Sasquatch here at my research area in Missouri. So and we have a bunch of weird stuff going on in our house still. So anyway, but uh, they they would take these various forms. I would see their face every now and then when I'm talking to the regressionist. I would suddenly see their face where her head was, and one of the ETs had this giant head, humongous head, and it reminded me very, very much of David McCallum in The Outer Limits. I don't know if you
Yeah.
remember that TV show, the black and white show, but he
Yeah.
was this alien with his head just really big, veiny, really long
Yeah.
hands.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, you probably remember that show. You could
I
Google it.
do.
Anyway, so one of the ETs looked like that. Another one kind of looked remarkably like Salvador Dali, with the big mustache. And I'm going, what are you disguising yourself like that for? I mean, I know who you are. Just let me see who you are. But there's a lot of things they still would not share with me because they said Carter he's popular. People will listen to him. They will come to him. They'll flock to him. We don't want him knowing and telling these things. It's just not the right time. Well, when I got regressed accidentally and discovered I had been abducted in 2004, that told me, yes, it was the time, and you guys aren't going to tell me it ain't the time because the dam is broke and I'm starting to remember stuff. So, but they kept telling me, like, you weren't supposed to remember that. They would tell me every time I use the word they, it's an ET talking through me or through the regressionist. You won't remember, but you won't forget either. They would just they spoke in riddles, you know. It was like this
Yeah.
kind of little cat mouse game, So I wasn't supposed to remember things, but certain things are coming back even now. Now I don't listen to the tapes again because I listened to them about a dozen times each while I was putting them together. I transcribed them from cassette tape to digital to Word document to the book. It wasn't easy. I mean, it was just tedious. So, but I mean, I was taken to Machu Picchu. I was walking in a tunnel underneath Machu Picchu. It was like seaweed. It was mushy, the long stringy seaweed with the little knobs or little, tentacle, the little round knobs look like BBs on the end of them. There's just there was stones that you had to touch before you went past a certain area. It's just so involved, and I'm just, how come I don't know this? How do I not know this? I mean, well, because they wiped my memory clean. I had implants. One of the implants failed and wasn't working. And so they did something. I found this out. They did something while I'm under, and they told it, they sent a signal or whatever they do for it to eject. So I remember when I was 12, 13, I had this gushing nosebleed out in my front yard, and my mom came running out because I was screaming. It was just like pouring out, and I had this, what I say now, I just call it a booger, it's about a foot long. I just pulled this thing out and just threw it on the ground. I was going, yeah, I had no idea what was going on. I had no idea. And I just thought I had a bloody nose. Well, they put a second implant in. And I found this out, after the fact. But I had two implants at least. Crazy. And it went in straight through the nose, went back in here.
What do you think they were for? Any idea?
Tracking, programming. I say tracking because I don't know that it was doing anything to enhance my hybridization possibilities. If you was doing something to monitor me, so if something happened, they would know and could come do something. If I was maybe going to be, maybe they're just going to make a little Carter alien running around the universe somewhere, and I'm half alien, half ET on Uranus or whatever. You know,
Oh, I don't want you anywhere near Uranus. I
well,
mean, I
I'm
don't want
close
to.
to
I mean,
my.
I don't want to be anywhere near Uranus. I mean,
Yeah, I know. Well, it's too late for that. Remember that party back in the 70s? But you know, it was just one of those things where I think they were tracking me. Now, here's the other thing.
Hey, can I ask you something? Can I ask you
Yep, yep,
something,
yep,
or
yep.
is it gonna ruin the story here?
No,
Is it's related to the story?
yeah,
I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on this. And it's interesting because the Sasquatch are obviously involved. It seems like there's some extraterrestrials involved in this. And I mean, we know that Sasquatch and I've been seen on craft and that they've got a connection and they're doing the same kind of work and whatever. So what's
yep,
interesting is that we know the Sasquatch play matchmaker.
yeah.
I mean, they did it with my wife and I, and they've done it with countless other people. I've seen it all the time. Well, the thing is that about 3 years before I met her, we were both married to other people, and constantly we would wake up in the morning, there'd be little blood, little pool, little drops of blood on our bed, and we could never figure out what the heck was going on. We couldn't blame, it wasn't our partners or whatever, and we couldn't see any thing that was, bleeding, with us.
Uh-huh.
So, and it was going on at the same time. And then, years later we meet and all this wild stuff happens between us, like just this connection and this energy going back and forth and just like supernatural stuff. And I'm just wondering, they must have been tinkering with us.
Yeah, I think, I think we're just an experiment. Yeah. If you read this book by Lloyd Pye, Everything You Know is Wrong. And he had a second book called Everything You Know is Still Wrong. But in the first book, yeah, you know who Lloyd Pye, he's way
I've
out
heard of
there.
them, yeah.
Yeah. I highly suggest you find that book somewhere. It will open some other doors. But in that book, he talks about the Anunnaki came to Earth to mine the Earth for gold because they needed gold dust to preserve their atmosphere on their planet, Narubu, which was the 10th planet.
Hmm.
And so the Sumerians have these gold cylinders. They're made out of solid gold around. They're like scrolls, but they're cylinders and they're etched very fine. You know the Sumerian writing. It looks
Yeah,
like cheese,
yeah.
you know. And it describes the Anunnaki coming here, meeting the Sasquatch who were living here on Earth already. They took their DNA and the Sasquatch DNA, the Anunnaki DNA and the Sasquatch DNA, and made they kept connecting and kept mating and mating and mating and breeding us until we got to where we're called the hairless humans. That's us now. We were a Sasquatch without hair. We were derivatives of Sasquatch. They made us that way so we could be slaves. They gave us mostly free will so we wouldn't revolt or in any way hinder the operation of mining all this gold. Because what they do is they pulverize it into powder form, they shoot it up into the atmosphere. It plugs holes in the atmosphere. And I don't know how that works. But anyway, so when they left and went back to their planet, we were left here, as were the original Sasquatch. Interesting angle. It explains a lot of things,
Yeah.
uh, but uh, the the implant, the second one they put in, I'm pretty sure I remember him taking me out of my room. Now, when I released the book, and I haven't really released, I'm just sharing it with friends. I've had probably about 4 or 5 female researchers tell me, I remember a pregnancy. I remember floating out my window at night. I remember having a pregnancy, then one day I wasn't pregnant, and things of that nature. And so I got them in touch with regressionists, and they're getting regressed because they're certain. One of them was a Sasquatch related thing. The other 2 or 3 were alien remembrances, and they wanted to get to the bottom of it because they suddenly, when I started talking about it, they went, it just reminded them of something that they hadn't thought of in 20, 30, 40 years, But many women, you probably read the abduction stories where they take women, they impregnate them. The alien children come to full gestation in 4 to 5 months versus 9 for the humans. So they'll put the embryo on the human body, come get it at birthing time, take it out. The human woman just decides she had a miscarriage or one of those phantom pregnancies. Who knows? They probably manipulate the mind there to where they just gets them off of it, gets them off the memory of it. But it's just when you get into this, and I believed in it for a long time. I mean, I'm an old hippie, and I've known and believed about all this stuff for decades. I knew about this. I kept telling everybody also another story. Well, I just knew at the age of 10 there was more to the world and the universe than they're telling us. I couldn't tell you why. I just knew. Yeah, I just knew, like, I got a planet, I got a map of the solar system from a couple of boxes of Cheerios or Kellogg's. You could send off for a map. And I had this big poster on my wall. I was just so proud of it. I had a bunk bed, top bunk. I'm looking at all the planets, but there's no stars. I'm going, where's the stars? There should be a star right here and here and here. Where's all the stars? So I was always questioning how come things weren't as I thought they should be. Just something about me was internal dialogue was always going, that isn't right. I don't know why it's not right, but I just know it's not right. And now I can tell you why it's not right. But it was just the weirdest transition, weirdest thing to discover. You know, I went through 50 years of not knowing nothing after this had happened.
So, did you, when you had any of your past life transgressions, were you ever, can they transgress you where you're in between lives or whatever? Like, I personally had a memory of when I was on the other side planning actually what I'm going to be doing in this life. I was actually taken there and it was like it was one of those, okay, what was that kind of thing. But did
Yeah.
have you ever been
No,
so
I
in
had
other words
no.
that so you don't know anything about in between where you go after you die, whatever, or that kind of thing. Just it was just all physical past lives that you
Well, the
experienced.
one thing, when I went to Saturn, they took me to Saturn because they said I
Right.
requested to go. Well, they took me to the rings of Saturn, and they were introducing me to all these old souls that are hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years old. I said, I don't like that. I don't want to live this life like that. I don't want to be farmed off and start hanging out with all the old souls. I want to go back, you know. So that's the only out of out of this life thing I remember was, and I was in the rings and I was watching all this debris go by me, little chunks of rock, big chunk of rock, and just weird shapes of all kinds of space stuff. Who knows what they are? The rings were going like, yeah, and I was watching all this stuff just kind of flying by me. I was just wow, that's wow, ooh, oh, and so I don't want to go because I thought they were sending me like they were farming me out to go hang out with your old souls because I said I wanted to go to Saturn. Well, the reason I wanted to go to Saturn is because they had that cool map on my wall and I want to see the rings.
Yeah.
But
What
they
was
took
it about
that.
the old souls that you didn't want to? They were just kind of boring or whatever.
Yeah,
You're a young guy, or
there was no energy. They were there as sort of caretakers of the universe. They were there if somebody needed something. They were just there because they weren't interacting with anybody. They weren't on terra firma. They weren't on solid ground. They were just in space, just floating around among all the debris in these rings. I don't know if they were hiding or that's just where they were. I just didn't want to be there, so they brought me back, which was interesting. So I don't know if I'd have died in my sleep if they took me there and my parents come in to wake me up for breakfast and I'm dead. But well, he's oh my God, I don't know what happened. Well, he might be on Saturn, honey. I don't know.
did you get a feeling of love or anything while you were around these old souls, or
Yeah, I did. And I thought it made me uncomfortable because I didn't want to hang out with old people. Because that's a terrible thing to say. But I just didn't want to, I don't want to hang out with all these old people. I've still got a life to live. I'm young. I don't want to hang out with these people. And so here's the weird part. Now, this guy Craig, we hung out together a lot. I looked him up. I hadn't heard from him in decades. I found about 8 Craig Whaleys in the United States. I found one that was from Texas. And so I emailed him, he never responded. So I found his number and I called him out of the blue. He lives in California now. And I said, "Hey, this is Carter Buschardt. I don't know if you remember me. We went to school together." He goes, "No, I don't remember you." I said, "Well, we hung out together in the neighborhood and we burned down your parents' garage shooting off fireworks. And you were no longer allowed to play with me because I was a bad influence. The same thing my parents said about you. You're a bad influence. You don't hang out with that kid anymore. You know, no, I don't remember that. So now I'm going, okay, bull crap. Come on. Okay. So I said, well, I told him what I was calling about. I just flat out called him and told him. He goes, I tried hypnosis once or twice. I'm not sure I liked the results or the technology behind it. I'm not sure I really believe in it or not. But I tried it a couple of times. So I told him I've been regressed. And that's what I was. So here's a guy who's been regressed hypnotically. Here's a guy who I went to school with, and he denied going to school with me. Here's the other thing, and it gets even better. He was born September 16th, 1951. It's my birthday.
wow.
If you're going to do an experiment, when I told him that, it got quiet. I mean, the phone was like silent for like 5 seconds. He goes, "Oh, really? Oh, well, that's unusual. That's weird." But this was about a 20-minute conversation. And he didn't like, "Hey, listen, I got to go. I don't know who you are. Thanks for calling, but you got the wrong number." He sat there and listened to the whole conversation. I know it was him. I mean, I know it was him. Now, he didn't live in Dallas, Texas, per se. He lived in Richardson, which is another town, but it was only about 20 miles away. So I think he might have known and just he denied the whole. He said, I really I don't have any remembrance of any of this. I don't know you. I mean, the story sounds pretty good. I don't know you." And but he'd been hypnotized, he'd been regressed. He was born on my exact same birthday. While I'm writing the book, putting it together, I get an email from another high school, elementary, junior high school friend. We hung out all the time. We were known as the Nature Boys. We hunted and fished. We spent hours and hours hunting and fishing, just like me and Craig. Gordon was his name. We were in Boy Scouts together. he emailed me to inform me of the death of a fellow high school student we all knew. So every now and then you get an email, hey, don't know if you hadn't talked in a while, but hey, Larry died, just so you know. And oh, thanks, I appreciate it. Good to hear from you. Hope all's well, blah, 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 blah. He was born September 16th, 1951. Now, you can't tell me if you're looking to do some kind of medical experiments, the best control specimen is one that's born on the same exact day and hour and everything as the other test subjects. I've got three kids here, all born September 16th, 1951. What are the odds of that? You know what I mean? I mean, it started getting put together, and they were both fighting me. He didn't respond to my email. He just didn't. But I don't believe in coincidences in any of this kind of stuff. I don't know
No,
if it's a serendipity,
no, I don't.
that kind of stuff, but not quite. No, this was a designed, programmed experiment, and these three kids all had the same birthday. We could have been born hours apart. It was that, same day, everything. So he denied. He just never got back to me. He never responded. I said, hey, I got some stuff I want to run by you. Uh, Send me another email or send me a phone number. Nothing. I bet I won't hear from him ever again. But what are the odds of the three people coming together and communicating about something entirely different, but all at the same time? You know, here's this guy. I call him and say, "Hey, we went to school together. Remember?" And he didn't know anything about it. And maybe his screen memories are still intact, where he doesn't. He actually does not remember. I don't know. But you can't tell me that that's not. If you are conducting medical experiments, that is the perfect scenario. Have 10 newborns that you all try new drugs on. They're all 30 days old, and you've got a control group and you are running your experiments. You can't tell me that wasn't happening, but they don't know anything about it or don't want to talk about it, and they do know about it. I don't know. Can't
Did,
force
were
the
you,
issue.
you were all born in the same, were you all born in the same hospital in the same town or
Uh, Gordon and myself are from here, we're from Dallas, and Craig said he wasn't. He said it was in Richardson, Texas. He now lives in California, but uh, I was so descriptive. I knew him. I knew the street he lived on. I said, "You lived on Lathrop. Remember? We were shooting off fireworks, and the wind started blowing and blew the fireworks back down and caught the back of your parents' garage and burned the back half of your parents' garage. It was a single car detached garage in the backyard. You don't remember that?" No, no, I don't think I ever shot fireworks over in Dallas. I didn't know. I, I want to say he's lying, but he may honestly not remember with the screen memories if they're in place, with him. But what are the odds of? It's like you finding two other Mikes or Brians with the exact same birth date, and you
yeah.
all have, you know what I mean? It's not a,
I've
it's not
had
a
I've
coincidence.
had I've had like weird coincidences like that though, but I don't think of them as coincidences. I've had similar kind of stuff happen where like there's four people all talking and they're all Susan, they're all named Susan or something, and there's some other connection between them, that kind of thing, or that kind of stuff. I think when you open up to that kind of stuff, it becomes more and more evident.
Yeah,
In your everyday life, even, like
yeah. I don't,
synchronicity. Go
yeah,
ahead.
I don't force anything. I don't force any square pegs into a round hole.
Yeah,
With Sasquatch or any research, it's gotta be serendipitous and make sense and flow and be accessible to everybody. So
yeah,
I don't force any of that. And so that is not forcing. That is like real stuff.
yeah.
They came and took us. There was aliens watching us while we fished. Uh, Here's the deal: the blue Buick, that was a screen memory, so I would forget the craft. Although I did eventually remember what the craft looked like. It was a dark metallic blue. Looked like a sideways Christmas ornament, the kinds that are kind of really round here. It kind of comes down to a point, then
Yeah,
it
yeah.
teardrop or something, upside down teardrop. Anyway, so, uh, but my grandparents had a blue 1951 Buick in their garage in Houston, Texas. Now they were old by that time. They weren't driving anymore. The car just sat there. But for some reason, they also used, now, when they gave me the screen memory of Aunt Jemima, she was sitting in a rocking chair in my bedroom that I shared with my brother in Dallas. I'm on the top bunk, he's on the lower bunk. Except we didn't have a rocking chair in our bedroom, too small. We had a bunk bed, a desk, and a big dresser for all our clothes. Wasn't a big bedroom. So, but the Aunt Jemima they showed me had glasses. My grandmother wore glasses. Aunt Jemima did not wear glasses. She had her hair up in kind of a bun up here. Aunt Jemima wore a do-rag, and she was black. Of course, my grandmother's white. That rocking chair we now have in our house here. My grandparents died, gave it to my dad. My dad died. I ended up with some of the furniture. We all, split the furniture. So, but I was a pancake freak, so Aunt Jemima would be natural. Well, that Aunt Jemima screen memory was to make me forget what the ET looked like that took me out of my room or did the implant. Because they said you would not understand the way we look. We are older than time. We are time itself. You would not understand if you saw us. You could not handle or understand the way we look. So they gave me something else. And they told me that. So I mean, I'm hearing all this stuff, and it makes, I go, well, that's why I'm drawn to that, or that's why I think that. I mean, it all made sense, and the screen memory, it's like a hypnotic thing, We used to do comedy shows with a hypnotist, and he would bring people, and where he made a lot of his side money was uh, stop smoking and stop overeating. He would hypnotize people into, you will no longer like the taste of cherry pie or ice cream. You will no longer like the taste of cigarettes or cigars. You will never smoke. The thought of it will make you throw up and vomit. You will never, ever want to smoke a cigarette ever again. So that was, I was used to hypnotists, but in a different way because we used to open up for this hypnotist, my comedy trio. Anyway, but all of these things were put in the head to make you forget. But suddenly I'm remembering and I'm not supposed to. Now there's some things I really, really want to know that I still don't know. And I don't know if I want to cough up another 400 or 500 bucks for another regression, but I want to know where they came from. And did they hybridize me or my friends? Or, what was, I mean, they they took me by accident because I was with Craig. I was just collateral damage. But once they realized I may be compatible with what they're doing, they started taking me often.
Yeah.
So
So
it's just go ahead.
what were so you said you were breaking through a lot of the screen memories and that stuff you weren't supposed to know. So what are some of the highlights of that? What are some of the things that they didn't want you to know that you discovered?
Well, that I saw them, that I saw the craft, and I saw the craft at Castleman's Pond, which is one of the areas we used to fish. And see, another screen memory they gave, this is why I knew it was a bunch of crap, because they gave me a screen memory. And when I was watching Craig being operated on in the spaceship, you know. Uh, he was screaming and they were doing something around here. One of the screen memories I have, which I know did not happen because I was very, very careful, I was casting my line at the pond and I hooked him in the neck, and you could see the hook in his neck and it was pulling away. I was pulling, you could see, but I was standing right in front of him, seeing this. I did not cast a line and hook him in the neck when I'm sitting there staring right at him. This hooking in the neck was where they were cutting into him. And my screen memory of that procedure was me hooking him accidentally, you know, because we had the same place we stood on the bank. You know, it was by under this weeping willow tree. We'd cut a bunch of branches away because the willows were coming far down and they would have snagged our line. So we stood in the same place when we fished. And so I was not there fishing and hooked him in the neck. That was a screen memory. We saw the craft on the dam at this pond. Actually, it's more like a dike. And it was a beautiful leather clad, horse drawn funeral carriage. It was leather clad, had brass, and it was beautiful, very ornate, you know, the big brass lanterns and
Mhm.
stuff. It was really beautiful. And it was just sitting up on the dike. And I remember talking to Craig. I was going, "Where'd that come from? That's what's that doing here?" You know, and while we were there fishing, well, it was not the carriage; it was the spacecraft. That was a screen memory. Now, Castleman's Pond, they boarded horses, so there would have been occasion to possibly have one. We never saw that. We were there all the time. We used to go by the barn. We used to, you know, talk to the people there. Yeah, go fish. It was back in the day when people didn't care about that stuff. They weren't worried about, you know, kids blowing shit up and doing drugs and that. Yeah, yeah, go fish. You be careful. You know, you kill yourself. Don't tell your parents. You know, that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
we were known there, and I went and you know I knew there was no carriage, and it was just sitting on the dike. And we're going, God, that's weird. What, wonder why that's there. Wonder why they would just leave it sitting out. It's a beautiful carriage. You know, that was the craft. And so one of the regressionists had me go into this carriage and walk or crawl to the back of it and see if there was a back door, which there wasn't. And she said, well, if it's a funeral hearse, shouldn't there be a back door where they load the casket? Well, there's no door, but it's designed for a funeral thing. But maybe the lack of the door was a flaw in their screen memory. I mean, I don't know. But it was I kept remembering things, you know, and seeing him with that. I'm looking right at him like you and I are looking at each other. I'm watching his neck getting pulled out by this fishing line with a hook in it, a black hook, and he's screaming bloody murder. That didn't happen.
I
That was a
hope
screen
not.
memory for them working on.
Yeah. So
My parents, go ahead.
do you think, well, you were talking about the Anunnaki and the Sasquatch, and we were hybrids from them. Do you think, what do you think the Greys or whoever was working with you doing? Are they using our DNA for something along those lines? Or are they trying to keep themselves alive, or are they us from the future? I mean, what is the agenda? And there may be
Well,
a number of them, but what do you think?
they didn't tell me. I think, you know, of course, the small grays, the little 3 or 4 footers, they're drones, they're robots. They're all the exact same. They're just kind of the gophers. You do this, you do that. You know, they're the tall grays. I think they are doing some human gene splicing and or experiments because that's what they were doing with me. That's what me and Craig were there for, to see if we were compatible. He'd been taken many, many times before they got to me. We just happened to be hanging out that one day riding bikes. And so, whoop, got them both. So we'll just let this other guy sit until they realized we had the same birthdays. So when I got the first implant, I don't know. But they obfuscated my memory of the tall gray with Aunt Jemima. Made her look like my grandma. Another, what would be the word? Soothing or comforting sight, something I would relate to, rather
Yeah.
than this big 6 foot tall gray with eyes that are size of, hardballs.
It
So go ahead.
makes me think, like I've had a lot of experiences where there's been time loss. You're going in, takes you 20 minutes, you're coming out, it takes you an hour or 5 minutes or the reverse or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if what's going on during that time loss. Maybe some of this stuff is happening. I mean, because I guess I mean, I don't know if you were checking the time or whatever, but you probably would have experienced time loss, during these
Yeah,
things too.
I don't recall any time loss. I was either out or awake, but there's many times I was probably taken and I don't know because I don't have conscious memory of it. But some of those screen memories are
Yeah.
probably still working. Like I was 7 or 8 when this started. I was taken in my teen years when I had a paper route because they would come get me at 3 in the morning when I'm out running around the neighborhood all by myself, pitch dark. I'm a sitting duck. So, and they mentioned several times my paper route that I was taken during the paper route. And they, did I remember that? I said, well, no, I don't. But that's because your screen memory is actually still working, you know, on that. So I don't know if that means I've got more things to remember that I really don't want to remember, or maybe I really don't remember them because I've actually just forgotten them. Kind of messes with your head because you know they can do that, you know. So if I'm remembering something and forgetting something else, is that part of their process? Something will come to mind all of a sudden, and I go, "Well, that would be weird if that was what happened," that kind of thing, and then you just you blow it off and keep on about your day. But there was a time here at our house after I'd made that connection with the Sasquatch in Illinois, and my wife saw the orb. It was, I don't know, 1 o'clock in the morning, and I woke up and I felt these hands. I don't know if I've told you this story. These hands sliding under my butt and under my thighs, under my legs, like 3 hands on each side, under my legs. And I was being lifted up out of the bed and I was being slowly carried off to the side of the bed. And I'm awake. I'm going, what the? And my wife gets up and goes to the bathroom. I said, Sheila, are you looking at this? What's going on? Do you see this? What are they doing? What's going on here? And she didn't acknowledge me at all. She just got up, went to the bathroom, and took a leak. When she went in there, I was watching her, and it was looked like I was watching everything through a dirty windshield. It was kind of clear in the middle, but kind of fuzzy around the edge. And she
Hmm.
walked out of the bed, walked in front of the bed, walked into the bathroom. When she flushed the toilet, these hands dropped me. They were gone. The regressionist told me that was an attempt to take me or a visitation. They were going to do something there, or maybe they were going to take me somewhere else. But she goes, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't see anything. You're probably just having a lucid dream. I said, no, this was real. I mean, I could feel those little fingers. I was having playful thoughts. Thought my wife was maybe, trying to fool around at 1 o'clock in the morning. I was just, oh boy, but it wasn't that. She didn't see it, but it was brought up in the regression
Yeah.
because when the regression of this lady, she gave me 12 questions. You have 12 questions you can ask because the session lasted almost a half a day, about 6 hours, 7 hours, half of a
Wow.
working day. Well, the first couple of hours is talking, getting to know me, what my medications are, what my health history is. That she gets kind of a medical breakdown, so she knows what she's dealing with. And we just start talking about, beliefs and stuff. And then I think my actual session was about 2 hours when I was out. But it was brought up because one of the questions says, have I been taken or visited in the last 10 years? I first said five, but then I retyped it and I made it 10 because I didn't know, I wasn't sure how far what their processing of time is and our perception of it versus theirs. So have I been taken or visited in the last 10 years? And she said, yes, yes, at your house. I was, I was, that was them. And whether they were going to do it there or take me somewhere, I have no idea. But they were at least there. Just
Yeah.
bizarre. It just, it makes you rethink everything when you're suddenly thrust into this scenario. You know, what is real? Why did I make this choice versus that one? I mean, you just wonders what is related and what isn't. It keeps your mind working overtime. Have you ever been regressed?
Well, yeah, I said by Mary
Oh
Rodwell.
yeah. Okay, but did she find anything?
Well, she said I had three past lives as Sasquatch.
Yeah, but no ET type thing with the blood
Uh,
on the sheets and stuff.
um, no, but
Susan,
I
has
think,
she been?
but I think that, but I think that what the reason for that is because I was introducing her to the idea that, the Sasquatch message and the so-called alien message of, the malevolent ones or benevolent ones, I mean, is the same. So she was very intrigued by that. She hadn't considered the Sasquatch were like, like the same kind of had the same kind of message and that they were actually, like intelligent and not just like monkeys run, Magilla gorilla running around in the woods.
Yeah,
So she wanted to regress me specifically because she was intrigued to see if I had a past life connection as Sasquatch. So that was the focus of it. So I guess that's where it went. But
yeah. What about Susan? She been under?
has what?
Has she
Susan
been
had
under?
no, I don't think Sue has had a past life regression.
Yeah.
No.
I highly recommend it. The one thing that I was told by Dolores and others, don't ever do it online. You should do it live because there's subtle nuances and body ticks and things they can pick up on while you're there in the room with them versus online. So that all my stuff was all live. And
Yeah.
I don't know if that,
Unfortunately, I had to do it online because this lady was in Australia, right?
yeah, well, kind of out of town for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's nothing wrong with that. I just, they say for the best, truest results, they want to be able to sense your vibe and your presence and see little, body ticks and twitches and things that might indicate that you're truly under or not, that kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
but uh it was just I still cannot fathom why I just sat there and stared at those things for 20 years in the shelf of my closet. I did
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah. I
It had
remember
to
my
be, I was unsure of what I was going to hear or find. I mean, I remember putting them up there, so I'll get to them next week or next month or later on. And I was just starting, like I said, my Sasquatch and real estate career, and I just had other things to do. Why would I put that on a back burner? Maybe they wanted me to do that, so I wouldn't, be up to speed, so to speak. I
Mhm.
could listen to those tapes and maybe figure other things out. But they were looking at me, they were laughing at me, they were laughing with me. I mean, the ETs through, and visually what I was being given to see was the Salvador Dali like thing, which I know was just a caricature of something, and the David McCollum alien. And then the grays. I used to have, another thing, I had a recurring dream as I was a kid. I would see these shadows walking down the hall from the area of my parents' bedroom. And they were kind of, it looked like they were on stairs or an escalator because as they walked, they kind of got a little lower
Oh, wow.
each time. But they were looked like there was three or four of them on an escalator, and they were kind of like doing this, and every time they'd just do this and then go down and disappear.
It's interesting because you made a point of when you said that you wouldn't be able to accept how we look. They told you you wouldn't be able to understand how we look and whatever.
Yeah,
And
you would
I've
not
always
understand.
thought that, these kind of entities and even the Sasquatch, if they want, can present themselves to you in a form that you will understand and you will accept. So,
Yeah,
the David McCallum kind of thing is something that's kind of in your memory bank and something you might expect to see. And with the other thing that you saw too. So, I'm sure that they just gave you some kind of image that you could accept, and wouldn't wouldn't
suggestion. Yeah,
wouldn't flip you out or freak you out or whatever.
yeah. Well, that's what they do. So they don't want you freaking out. They want you under control. So it was just bizarre that I did nothing with it. And that's so unlike me. Man, I'm on top of stuff. And I think it has to be trepidation or fear. I know it happened, but I don't want to know anymore. So I stick it up there in the closet and keep the door closed so I don't have to look at it, except every now and then.
And now you and now the whole world's going to be looking at it.
Yeah.
All
Well,
your
here's the deal. I mean, I write books. I want everybody to know everything that I happen to know or that I've learned from my witnesses about Sasquatch. Why wouldn't I want the world to know about that? But
exactly.
I wasn't in control of that. I'm in control of my knowledge that I have of the Sasquatch. Of course, they're providing it to me or letting me share it, put it in books. But the alien thing was totally different. And I don't know why. I mean, it's so unlike me. I have to be honest with myself and think I was scared of what I was going to find out.
Maybe.
Put it off as long as I could. I can't think of any other reason why I would just be a chicken shit and just stare at it. Oh, it's far enough away. Just stay where you are. I'll get to it, some other time, next week, next year, next 2 years, 5 years, decade. It was
Uh,
weird. It's just weird. I mean, it was a behavior I didn't understand in myself. I still don't, but it had to be fear based or the unknown.
yeah.
I mean, I have no other way of explaining it. It's one thing I hate to admit is I'm scared of. I ain't scared of nothing. I mean, I go chase Sasquatch all through the forest of America. Why would I be afraid of an alien? You know what I mean? I'm chasing two foreign things. Why would I be afraid of one and not the other? It just none of it made sense. But I'm glad it all came out for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Uh, but it's just
Well,
I look myself in the mirror. I'm going, what's wrong with you? What are you afraid of? Well, I mean, why would you do that? And maybe that's something they put in me that I was not going to react to it until Travis Walton told me to get off my ass and do something with it. He was
maybe.
sent to sit right next to you. You know what I mean? I mean, that was the catalyst. I said, well, no, you're right. And he sent me since then, we communicated a little bit. I mean, he sends me these little notes and letters, and I bought his book and the CD of the real version of events, not the one that was in the movie. And he said, you got to do this. You got to do. You got to tell the world. People are dying to know this because people are wondering if this happened to them. They have a weird feeling, but they just can't scratch it. Well, when you tell people, they go, "Oh, that's what happened to me." And so you're spreading the word, you know. So I probably wouldn't have done
Absolutely.
that. I probably wouldn't have done that had he not just, put the irons to my fire, to my feet. I just,
Yeah.
it was just,
It's not it's not like us to not share everything. Like I got stuff going on across the road daily, and I haven't. That's some really neat stuff, and I neglected. I'm old, right? I had a nap or something. I didn't go over and document it, and I'm thinking, geez, I didn't share that with these people who are keeping up with all that, and you kind of feel like it really is. You want to share it because you want to share the magic and the love and just that sounds corny, but you really just do want to share it because it opens people up and it changes people when they realize what these connections are really all about. I'm
Yeah,
talking specifically about my connection with the Sasquatch. Now,
yeah,
there is some connection with Sasquatch and the aliens too, and like is are these implants all malevolent or are some of them benevolent? I mean, there's many different layers to it,
yeah.
but we what we know it's all connected. So how do you see the connection between your Sasquatch experiences and your Sasquatch connection, which you obviously have, this alien abduction kind of thing, and just how do you see the whole thing being connected? Is there a connection there?
I think there is. I don't know if it's just because it's the unknown or if there's really a not even a metaphysical connection, but an actual connection between the ETs and the Squatch. A lot of my witnesses, and you probably would know this, will say they have seen a Sasquatch right before or right after a UFO event,
I have
or they
seen
will
that.
report a UFO event right before or right after a Sasquatch event.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've had that myself. Yeah.
Michael gave me that document that he did that study called, what was it called? The log of similarities. Where he was telling us on one of the shows. What's that document? It's
Alien
uh,
abductions and UFO or no, Sasquatch.
yeah. Well, he
I,
did. He
I did
did.
I did one that was different. I did one on the similarities. I did about 35 or maybe even over 40 similarities between near-death experiences and being connected to Sasquatch. Like when they give you the downloads and the information
Yeah.
upgrade you and all that kind of stuff. But he did something different, and that
Oh,
was
it was a list of commonalities. It was a study he did, like right out of college, where they interviewed him and a bunch of college students for a thesis or a paper, interviewed abductees from all over the world. I know you'll remember that you were on with him. We were all three talking about it. And the people who were abducted, they had to be awake the entire time from the time they were taken all the way through the abduction and all the way taken back. They had to be awake the entire time. And they were asked what were the five most prevalent creatures or beings that you saw on the craft. It was the Nordics,
oh, right,
the
right, right.
reptilians, the grays, the tall grays, Sasquatch. They were on the craft like they belonged there, like they were part of the crew. They were participating. You remember that?
I do.
And so I've got it, and I share it with people. It's called the list of commonalities. So I mean, they did study like from Finland and all over the world, the abductees. I forget how many,
Yeah.
a
And
couple of thousand.
the interesting thing on that too was is that the guy or one of the guys anyway who went through this and saw the Sasquatch on the craft, he asked whoever his guide, whoever was, like with him showing him around, he said, what are the Sasquatch doing here? Because he was thinking of them as like, like
Gorillas.
just big
Yeah,
apes or whatever. And he was told they're the most evolved and advanced beings on this ship.
yeah. That's why you go back to that Lloyd Pye book. Everything you know is wrong with the Anunnaki and the planet Narubu, which is where they're from, the 10th planet. Pretty intriguing stuff. And
It
they
does
bring,
sound good.
yeah, I would, are you a reader?
Yeah,
Yeah, well, the book might be hard to find, but you might be able to find it at a used bookstore. You
I've
know,
heard of the book. So
it's really good. It's really, I don't have the second one. I was gonna put quotes of that book in my second book, Enigma 2. And I wrote his uh, survivors and the people that still operate, his website and all that. They would never respond as far as giving me permission to quote, because I was going to put half that chapter, like I put a chapter of your book in my book. I was going to put 3 or 4 pages that got really involved in in-depth describing the process of mating us with their DNA and the whole thing. And they never responded one way or the other. I don't even know if they ever got, but I really wanted to put that in the book because it was just really riveting reading. It really is good stuff, you know.
yeah. So you've
But
got so I was going to ask you, so is that all you wanted to talk about with your other book? I mean, your new book, because you've got another book coming out that we can
yeah,
talk about, and also maybe we you can share us, maybe give us a couple stories, some updates on some of your Sasquatch work you've been doing lately.
yep. Well,
Let me just let me bring the title up for your new book there. I'll just go and find that if I can find it. Uh, yeah, just give me a second.
okay.
Here I was talking to you and asking you questions so that we could keep the flow going, and I realized I was muted.
Yeah, I didn't hear a word you said. I thought you were just chewing tobacco or something.
You thought you got yeah. Okay, here we go. Sasquatch habituations, the creation of complex relationships by chance or design. Oh, I like that title. Carter Buschardt.
Yeah, I like it too. I like the artwork. It's
Really
it's
good.
the now all of the stories in this book have been in one of the past three of my books in various forms. But I because the habituation thing is getting so focused for me right now, I've got some bizarre things going on. And so I wanted to just do habituations only, not the one-offs. But they're all fascinating in and of themselves, of course. But where these families are living mostly in rural areas with the Sasquatch on their property. They're interacting with them for years, decades, generations. So 2 or 3 of them are brand new, like they're a year and a half old. They've just discovered that these Sasquatch are on their property and they're seeing them. They're hearing their conversations. It's a dead ringer for Ron Moorhead's, Sierra sounds. And they're interacting with them. I mean, so, you just have to, some of the stories are just mind-boggling. We don't have time here, but I mean, but they're interacting with them. The kids, the family, each the dynamics of several husbands do not believe what's going on,
Hmm.
refuse to believe it.
Yeah.
The wives are the ones that are having all the activity. Well, that's mostly because the guys are gone and her work, they're home working, on the yard, I don't know, whatever. But they're having these interactions. The Sasquatch for this one family, this one lady in particular, are going in and out of the trees in orb form. These orbs will glom onto the tree become a Sasquatch, and then they climb up to the very tops of the trees and disappear. The orbs come into their house and morph into a Sasquatch holding a baby. One was holding two babies with the gifts that she had been gifting them on the trees in their yard. They were holding the packages. When she went back out the next day, the packages were in different areas and were the bears had been put in different packages. So she knew what she saw was real because they were in different plastic bags with
I hear
different
you. Yeah.
clothes. I mean, it's you'd have to read it. I mean, it's really
So
she's
how did they appear? Like out of a cloud of smoke or something? Or how did they appear in her room or her house?
orbs for her and her husband. Here's the thing: he was agnostic until about 2 years ago. Then he finally saw one. He was up about 3 o'clock in the morning. He just had knee replacement surgery. He did not want to take his pain pills. He was in excruciating pain, so he was having a drink and he was watching TV until he could pass out because he didn't want to take the pain pills. So, and he's watching the TV, he's staring at the TV, and while he's watching the TV, he sees a Sasquatch walk through the picture window right in front of him, right where the TV is. He's going, he did not, he says, "You're crazy. You're seeing things." And then he saw one. He goes, "Okay, I believe you. I believe you." He has seen them appear and disappear from an orb form into a Sasquatch or a Sasquatch into an orb. He refuses to believe that, yet he believes physically he has seen them, but he will not sign on the dotted line for the quantum paranormal type stuff. So I said, you can't have it both ways, Big Daddy, you know. And so this is the dynamic that they live right now. She has all this activity. She has this gifting area. They are doing this phenomenal gifting where they're taking things, they're taking ribbons and tying them in knots, and she unties them and puts them back somewhere else, and they take them from there and put them somewhere else and tie a bow or three knots, and they're moving things around these beads and necklaces that she's hanging. I mean, they're it's incredible, and
Are
she's got
they
this stuff
are
like
they
crazy.
are they just playing with her right now, or are they trying to teach her stuff? Are they trying
I think they're
to
truly fascinated with the baubles, these
but
little.
it's not like a teacher student really. It's not like a teacher student kind of relationship. It's just like friends hanging out. It's just like their neighbors. Is
Yeah,
that
with the gifting and stuff. But when they morph into solid form in the bedroom from an orb form that come through the wall, that gets your attention. And so that's
oh,
what it's.
they morph right into solid form.
Yeah,
So
and
they
then
materialize right into
yeah, and they're floating at the foot of the bed, but she can see that there's more to them that she can't see over the foot of the bed. But she's not about to move. She's just watching this. And she's watching a father Sasquatch climb up a tree holding a young one in his hand like it's on a stool, and he is climbing up the tree with his knees in one arm while holding a juvenile in the other hand, carrying it up this tree, and it's climbing with his legs. Think of the strength in one arm. But she sees them going up to and in and out of the trees. There's some pictures in there. These she called them the cheeseburger orbs. There's a big white tube that flies around the property, and it's shooting out these little. In the book, I call it the cheeseburgers. I'll take 3 cheeseburgers to go because it looks like it's spitting out these. It looks like spacecraft. Is she going to bring you any dinner? What the hell?
I don't know. Is she making hamburgers? Yeah, it looks like I'm getting a hamburger pretty soon. Well, that's
Awesome. But
now that hamburger no got me distracted now. Where were we? The cheeseburgers,
well,
but I had something to say, but I can't remember now.
but these orbs, they're heart shaped, they're red. And I say a lot of the pictures she takes, she's shooting right into the sun. I said, Rebecca, I can't use those because people are going to bust our chops. You don't aim a camera into the sun, get a picture of an orb, and think it's a Sasquatch. But if they are the same shape as some of the orbs she gets at night. Little
Yeah.
heart-shaped orbs. I mean, it's a little white thing with a heart in the middle. I mean, an obvious heart. She's got a couple of pictures. She's trying to find them. It's too late now because I'm sending the book off, but with Sasquatch faces in the orbs.
Wow.
They're flying around the house.
Well, I mean, I have had experience with Sasquatch's orbs, and I mean, a lot of people talk about that. So it's, I mean,
That's old news.
I firmly believe, yeah, that's old news. But
I
it's,
mean, now here's the thing that's interesting. They have an adult son that lives with them. 50, 51. He's autistic. He's on the spectrum all his whole life. So he's lived with them their entire life. They think he talks to them and he won't talk about it. I've been on a couple of expeditions where I met a couple of autistic. One of them was an autistic savant, and he was very, very serious and incredibly detailed in the fact that there was Sasquatch watching this at our nighttime camp meeting before we went out on a night operation. And he was describing, oh, there's three of them, they're watching this. And he was like 18 or so, and he was with his father. So he's a savant. He talks to him a lot. And people just go, well, he's autistic. I'm not going to, I can't believe that. He's probably got something wrong with it. Well, no, a savant, if you know what a savant is, it means he's smarter than you. So
well,
people,
actually, I used to have a friend when we were playing music or whatever, and this guy used to call me a musical savant.
did you know
So,
all the songs?
what's that?
You knew all the songs, you knew all the
No,
chords.
no, because I could be, no, because somebody could just play like a couple chords on the guitar, and all of a sudden I had a complete song. It would just flow.
Yeah,
Oh, to me, and it was, and they were usually really, really good.
yeah,
Like some of them I didn't even change. Like, and they were like, I mean, really good.
yeah,
I just didn't have enough ambition, and I guess I was supposed to do other things to pursue it and get serious about it. But I
yeah,
mean, I did have some connection, but
yeah.
going on there. And I remember thinking, early on, before I knew about the Sasquatch and stuff, like when I was doing this stuff with the songs or whatever, I always thought to myself, I'm going somewhere and I'm retrieving this information. I'm bringing it back from someplace because it was just like it was just like I was speaking freely, except the music was coming out complete without even any thought. It was just flowing.
Mhm. Yeah. I used to write songs. I've got a couple of records out, way, 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 way back, six,
Yeah.
80s. But I could just start writing a song and I'd write an entire song in no time at all. It was like, it's in my head. It's dying to get out. I got to get it on a piece of paper now before I forget.
There you go. Exactly. And I can
Yeah.
even and I can even hear, and I'm sure you can too. I can hear the whole song, like the music, the guitar, everything. It's
I
just
can
like,
hear how it's supposed to go.
yeah, yeah,
Because
exactly.
I'm a drummer, so I don't have the, musical knowledge of a guitar and the frets and the chords and all that, but I could feel the rhythm of it. It has to be a 3/4 time or 4/4 or whatever. I could tell, well, it needs to be have a break right here and do it again, and just like any kind of rock song. But
Yeah.
it was just weird. I've still got a list, but I have re-released a couple of 45s, and I still have several boxes of both.
Yeah, but I firmly believe because like that's why I say, like every thought and action that we have affects the collective or whatever.
Yeah.
I also think that every note, every bit of music, everything that's ever been done, we have access to too. And I
Yeah.
think that when I'm in that space or we're in that space, we're just accessing that. Maybe we're just bringing back that information.
Uh-huh. Yeah. No, it's crazy. Musically speaking, there's times I miss it, but I had my shot. I had my joy with it. I mean, I
You had
only,
your shot. Oh, wait a minute. We can't talk about that.
yeah. Well, no, I do have a disease named after me in Dallas, but Texas.
Do you?
another story. Yeah. But the thing was, I had my shot. Right out of high school, I opened for the Who, and
Oh
within
wow.
5 years of that, the Cars, Journey, Springsteen, they were nobodies. Trying to make it. Of course, they did. We did. I'm not comparing myself to them, but you know what I mean. I mean, it was. I had bands that were that good to be put in front of people.
Yeah.
Taj Mahal. We were supposed to go out on the road with him. We didn't. You know,
Yeah.
so
I can't even imagine that opening for the Who. Like
oh, it was, yeah.
were you talking with Keith Moon and stuff?
I was talking with Keith. I was talking with Daltrey. Daltrey and Moon got into a fist fight, which was almost apparently an every night occurrence.
Yeah.
They got into a big fist fight, and so the roadies and I think Pete got in the way and broke them up a little bit.
Poor Pete. Yeah.
But it was you know Dallas, Texas. I got a ticket for my mom. She was sitting about 7 rows back. She was going, like this. Go, hey, I'm cool. Don't embarrass me, mom. Don't say you know me. Come on, I'm up here. I'm a star. Come on, just don't no. It was, it was funny. So I had my chances, and out of all the things I did, here I am doing this. That's what it's supposed to be. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I mean, it is, I miss it. I have regrets, but they're fond memories. And I know you can't go back in time. So, I cherish the guys I played with.
Yeah.
Like I say, most of the guys, at least half of them are all gone already because they just
Yeah.
kept using substances.
We're
And
doing what we're supposed to be doing for sure. And I
yeah, we
feel the
are.
same way. And I'm way too much of a perfectionist, and I don't believe in commercial. If a song's supposed to be 7 minutes long, I'm not going to water it down just to fit into some 3 minute commercial kind of thing. So
Two
I
minutes,
could,
59 seconds.
yeah,
That's the official attention span of the human brain, according to record producers. Remember hearing that droned into my head for years and years. 2 minutes,
yeah.
59. If it's over 3 minutes, the radio won't play it.
And then like Hey Jude came out and Indicated Davida and some of those songs, and
Yeah.
they were like 7 minutes and stuff.
Yeah. Well, Blue
Yeah,
Cheer, 17-minute song. I mean, what are you going to do with that?
yeah. I know exactly what they're saying in chat right now because I've gotten people have said this before. I've gotten comments when I started talking about sports on the show. People said didn't like that, and they're probably thinking, what are you talking about now? So why don't we sway back into some of your Sasquatch experiences, or a couple that you've had since last time we talked, and then we can maybe wrap up by asking you where are you with the Sasquatch now, with your relationship and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, the one that just still fascinates me,
Yeah, amazing picture.
you can't see it. The landowner was walking around checking his cameras. This was the preacher. This is the town preacher, the friend of the landowner. They have about 30 cameras out there. So he was doing his thing with about every couple of months. They go check all the cameras, check the batteries, get the SD cards out, put new ones in, see if they got any photos, and then they repeat it next time they go back out. Well, he's walking through this camera, and I've been to this property twice. We actually shot a show for a Hulu that never got made due to infighting with the creative sources on the production staff. It was really messy. But anyway, he's walking through here. It is 12:15 and 30 seconds when he's walking by this camera.
Yeah,
12 minutes, 3 minutes, that's 3:12 and 40 seconds. The hand is right in front of the same camera he just walked by 4 seconds later. One, two, three, four. That quick. He never saw it, never heard it, never sensed it. But it was the same. It's the same, and they are still mystified. You see the shadow behind the guy. It's the same shadow. You see the shadow down here. It's not quite the same because this Sasquatch bumped the camera. It was almost on top of the camera. In fact, it's a little blurry. He's so close to it. but the background is the same here. The background is the same here. You just can't see it because the hand's in the way. That still just blows me away. And he's the town preacher, and he has had some demonic type things happen on that property. It had nothing to do with Sasquatch, but Sasquatch were used as a weapon of deceit because he was made to see certain things that he knew could not be, and it was the devil tempting him. And because he saw a giant elk, they don't have elk in this state where he is, and he saw this giant elk. He saw two deer sitting down under these trees in a clearing. He saw a Sasquatch walk up, and that Sasquatch morphed into an elk with jagged, sharp teeth. And then it morphed back into a Sasquatch and then disappeared. Then a little Shih Tzu dog appeared and walked in front of the deer. Nobody moved. This dog was just sitting there walking. And I said, Van, where'd the dog come from? He goes, I don't know. Well, do you have a dog? Does somebody have a dog? You're out in the middle of nowhere. Oh, wait, my daughter has a dog, just like that. And that's when he put it together that it was the Satan, the devil, was tempting him by showing him, I can do anything anytime, and your God cannot. And he pulled out his Bible that he carried with him, started praying and all this stuff. And all of that just went away. But so they've had spiritual and paranormal things going on that property. I've got other pictures that I can't show you because they're in the book and you can't see them with the camera. But a Sasquatch about to grab a deer on a trail camera at night. It's a pretty cool picture. You see a hand and you see this deer standing right there. And there's a giant hand, and you're going, well, that's dinner. You're about to be dinner, dude. But I'm getting into the spirituality of it and the habituation because these families they're learning things from them. They're learning things about themselves from interacting with the Sasquatch,
Hmm.
behavior, how they treat their family, their loved ones,
Right.
the people they don't love. I mean, they're learning things and they're just shocked. They're aghast. They're like, this is so unnerving yet so awesome. They're blindsided by the whole thing. And a couple of these families have been going at this for 7 to 10 years. One of them's almost a generation. That's generation depending on who you talk to, 20 to 25 years. You know, they took over the house and the farm after the grandparents passed away or couldn't handle it anymore, and they have taken up where the grandparents left. They knew there were Sasquatch there, but they were still there when they took over.
Yeah.
And they were some of the ones they saw when they were little kids. They're grown up,
Wow.
they recognize them. And so they're they're learning, about how to treat the planet, how to treat each other. You know, they watch them with their newborn babies. One of my families has had a baby shown to them. I mean, who does that? You know,
Yeah.
you see, none of these people want anything. And when I put this book out, I got beat up on the social media. How dare you put that out? That's fake as can be. Yeah, that's fake. How would you do that? You know who you are. You can't be doing that. That's fake. That's phony. You know. I said, prove it. It's not. The film crew, the film crew that was going to come out and film us, they were going to come out and do one of my BFRO reports in Arkansas. And so I called my people. He called me. The guy out in Florida called me, a producer, researcher, and he called me and said, "Hey, these guys want to do this report." And he gave me the number. I looked it up and went, "Oh yeah, 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 yeah. I know that. That's Pam and Scott." And so they want to do a show on this. Call them up, see if they're game for it. So, and most people are. So I called them up. Well, we want some money, maybe some new clothes. We want to be treated like royalty. I mean, they were like demanding. It's like, no, that's not how this stuff works. This is an altruistic thing. We're trying to show the world what's going on. This is not enrich yourself. So I said, well, I don't think it's going to work. So I called him back. I said, hey, these people are just getting ridiculous. I've never had anybody do that, but they want a lot of stuff. He said, well, forget that. I said, but I just happened, just so you know, I just so happened to have gotten that photo a couple of days before. I wasn't even sure what I was going to do with it. I was going, I got to find out, and I looked and I couldn't find any tampering on it. So I said, I've got this photo. I sent it to him. He said, I'll be right back. I'll call you. So the production people from New York called me and they said, I hear you've got a photo. And I said, yeah, I'm going to send this to you. I want you to tell me, number one, if it's fake or real, if it's been tampered with. They called back about an hour later, said, we're on our way. We're coming. That's a real photo. So, you know, but people are interacting with and seeing them on properties and they're
Hmm.
learning from each other. That's where my research is taking me now with the habituation. These people are, and like some husbands don't believe. They'll believe this, but not that. They'll believe, well, I saw one physically, I believe that, but if I saw that one disappear in front of my face in my bed, no, that didn't happen. I didn't see that. Something must be wrong. So, but it's also the dynamics between husband, wife, and kids. The discussions they have. What do we do? What do we tell anybody? How come you believe and I don't? How come you believe and I don't? I believe and you don't. What's the deal? How come you're seeing the same thing I'm seeing? You know it's there. Yet when you see something else that's physically impossible, spatially impossible, it's, paranormal or quantum type stuff, you don't believe that. Yet you saw it. You saw it in physical form. That physical form morphs into an orb or from an orb into that physical form right in front of you. It's the same creature you've seen live and you believe. Yet when you see it morph and in and out of existence in two different planes, you don't believe that. What do we do with that? It's also about those dynamics, the discussions they have. One family, the husband drove 4 hour round trip, 2 hours there, 2 hours back every day. He drove to St. Louis for a great paying job. They lived out in the boonies of Missouri. So he drove. So he was gone 12 hours a day, worked 8 hours, drove two, drove two. He come home. Oh, we're seeing these gorillas and Sasquatch and just screaming and yelling, throwing sticks and blah, blah, blah. Oh, you're crazy. You're just scared and freaked out because you're hearing noises and your husband's not here to protect you, you know. And so that's why you're freaking out, you and my daughter. So that doesn't exist. Well, so finally the wife and the daughter move out and go stay with her sister while he's gone, going back and forth to work until he comes home. And so he got the point. So he finally retired and he finally saw one. And I've sat there on the front porch with them. I've had them call me in my voice, my name. They have repeated my calls exactly. I mean, they are mimicking me and they mimic everybody else in the family. I've sat there on the front porch with them. That's what they do for recreation.
Wow.
Literally, we
Yeah.
get a couple of beers and some popcorn. We go sit on the front porch and got a couple of thermal cameras and just sit there and rocking chairs and yeah, see a signature. I mean, and they come over there to watch them. They get out in this big old clump of brush across the road and they're watching us watching them. We're watching them, watching us, watching them. It's
Yeah.
just bizarre. But this is like daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. It happens routinely, whatever the routine is for that specific family. It's just, and this is going on at a lot of places, and nobody
Yeah.
knows. You know what it is. I mean, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So that's why I put in these books, and it's just like blowing my mind the things that and you mentioned
You
something
know,
earlier, which is a good point, that so many things happen, you don't even think to remember it. You don't even, I'll call them up and say, hey, what's been going on? And well,
oh God, yeah.
we got a new roof
It
on the house, and we got rid of mom's car, got a pickup truck for her, and she's really gallivanting everywhere. And I'm having some surgery next week, and I'll tell them about my month. Says, well, I guess I'll, let you go, just checking in, see what's going on. Oh, did I tell you? My wife had a Sasquatch bouncing acorns off her head. Little juveniles throwing acorns at her. Did I tell you that? Who forgets to tell me that? You know what I mean? I mean, it's
Well, it's
like
just an everyday occurrence. Yeah.
it is. It's exactly the point I'm trying to make in the book that it's so routine. It's not that they think nothing of it, but they think nothing of it to mention it
You know what I
because
like that you know what I like that you said is the interaction with that one family, and I'm sure it's going on with some others, is that they were teaching them by the way that they were interacting with their children or whatever, how to be human, how to really live like a good life and how to live a heartfelt life and whatever. It seems
yeah,
like the Sasquatch are teaching them in there and it's back and forth.
it is.
And that's that I think is one of the key points that you made is because they are teachers and they do, they teach me in a different way, like a unique way that's unique to me, but and unique to everybody who's being taught by me. It's all unique and custom made,
Yeah,
but I like the fact that it seems like they're enhancing these people's lives by showing them how things could be done and how to behave and how to love and how to treat people and all this stuff, right?
yeah. I've got 8 families in this book.
Yeah. But you were saying, so I just wanted to maybe close on you were saying you're opening up more to the spiritual side of it and whatever, because I've always been that's always been my kind of thing. So what's happening with you? What are they doing with you that's
Well,
opening up
they
that possibility with you or that?
Yeah, they do little things around the house. It could be poltergeist type stuff, but tap me on the head, move stuff, and knock on the door. But I at night when I'm asleep or trying to go to sleep, we meditate and listen to meditation, and that is when they will come to me in my head, in my vision, and I will see them, and it's always the same thing. It's like I'm in a hole, and it's kind of got grass all around it, and they're looking down at me. Just to see, I'm here, I'm looking up at them. Then when I get up there, they're gone. But they're looking in on me, and they've shown me where they lived. They've told me verbally, home. This is home, our home, home. Just simple. I mean, that's it, home. And I've seen them sitting around playing with the kids. Kids are poking sticks in the ground, digging up mice and bugs and just farting around playing and rolling around, just being kids. You know what I mean? Just family life. And so they show me their day in the life on occasion. You know, Normally if I ask for it, they'll show me. I don't ask for it much, because I used to thought, well, there's a lot of people like yourself that are having these really great spiritual interactions, but I live in a different area where I'm not at peace in these surroundings because I'm in the city. Even though I'm on an acre, I don't have there's a lot of chaos. There's too much humanity around me. So I don't think I think for that reason, I don't experience the things you do, unless I get out in the field, then I do, you know. So that's kind of where I'm at, and I've been 3 years, I haven't been in the field because of COVID. And then I had my left shoulder replaced last year. Then I got COVID myself, and I just got over COVID 2 months ago, where it took my hearing out of my left ear. I've got it back now, but they were shooting steroids, they're shooting needles into my ear, shooting steroids to get to the back of the ear where they can't get to it to get rid of the fluid buildup and stuff. So it was really weird. So, but now I've got invitations to go to 3 or 4 of my properties, and people say, "Come on, whenever you want, just tell me you're coming." So I can go sit there and get more information and enjoy what they're enjoying. It's really cool. It's a great way to grow, and know what they're
Awesome.
doing. You know,
And you see these people, I mean, you have relationships of some type with some of them.
Yeah,
or
yeah,
all of them. So and you've seen them growing in their understanding
yeah, yeah,
and their approach and respect for the Sasquatch people as time's gone on.
yeah, yeah. Now I've been to one, two, three, four, five of the eight. I've been to their properties. The others are so far out there in different states, like way, way, way. But one's in Florida now. They were in Tennessee. The other one's was in Washington State, and the other one's far, far, far South Arkansas. But anyway, the rest are around here.
Now, has the habituation followed these people?
Yeah, one family just moved 8 miles away. They already got activity at the new place. They built a house, and I think they followed them over. They think they're different because they're not acting the same. I think you think they're acting the same because you moved, because they're doing some of the same things, which may or may not be endemic of Sasquatch in general. I don't know the way they talk or call or mimic or whatever. So, but yeah, so they followed them. The others have been on their property since I've met them.
Now, are they grateful this particular couple that they followed them? Are they
Yeah,
comfortable with them?
they're fascinated by it. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
they're and very they're really cool people. They're government workers, so everything's by the book, and government type people, police, military, are all very methodical. They are note takers. They see things. They memorialize everything. So there's no BS in them. If they whatever they tell me is what they saw.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just just like what Jack Webb, just the facts, ma'am. You know, I just
Yeah.
dated myself. Yeah, I got to get going here. I'm
I
about
remember
hungry
that
too.
show. I got to get going too. I remember that. I'm starving. I remember that show. Yeah, Joe Friday.
Yeah, yeah,
Hey,
crazy.
just the facts, man.
Just the facts, ma'am. Yeah, in his foil, whatever his name was.
All right.
But
Well,
yeah, uh,
so that sounds exciting, that habituation book, and yeah, and I like the fact that you said that the people are coming along in the relationship and learning about themselves and how to treat people through the relationship with the Sasquatch, because
it's a couple of families. It's a true metamorphosis. They kind of
yeah,
picked at each other
that
a lot. Now they don't.
that's beautiful.
They realize there's something else out there above them, better than them, more intelligent, bigger, badder, whatever that you need to
Well,
pay.
I don't think the Sasquatch would ever say better because they're not about judgment,
Well, yeah, 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 yeah. But
but
I'm
but
talking.
but
I'm talking.
but but we're not dealing with McGilla Gorilla like like people think. That's
Yeah,
dating
Harry and the
myself
Hendersons.
too.
It's not Harry and the Hendersons.
No.
Yeah,
Well, that's closer to it. I mean, Harry was kind of friendly, right? Wasn't he?
yeah, it's friendly.
He was a friendly guy,
Yeah,
but he was all right.
send me a link
Oh,
so I can
what?
share with the world. Send me a link when you get this all ready
Oh
to the
yeah,
show.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll send you the link. I'll send you the link of it. And thanks for coming by, and we'll have you on again.
Yeah,
And we just kind of had an impromptu conversation, and people caught up with your newest works and whatever. And I'm sure
yeah,
everybody looks forward to reading them. And I'll put all
yeah.
that on the video too. So,
Okay.
all right, my friend. So on behalf of the disappearing Frank Oliver Beans and myself, this has been the Pork and Beans Show, and thank you to Carter Buschardt. You've probably been on the show about 5 or 6 times. You're one of the reigning champions. So
Well,
we
do I get
always,
some cash prizes or a trophy or something, or maybe one of Susan's hamburgers or something?
oh yeah, we'll get you something when you come up here and visit me. We'll get the taco wagon out or
Okay.
cook you up a burger on the patio or something.
Yeah, you can teach me how to say a boot.
Yeah. All right, my friend. Hey, and
All
thanks
right.
everybody for watching. Sorry, I mean I was running this kind of show all by myself today, so I didn't get into any comments, but
I think they
I'll go and have
appreciated
a look at
that.
them.
I think they appreciated that.
Yeah. And I hardly even interrupted you at all, which is kind of good too. Notice I've grown so much. I'm so sensitive and caring now.
It's the Sasquatch. See, it's working on you too.
Exactly. Okay, my friend. Bye, everybody. Thank
See
you,
ya.
Carter.
See you guys.